Welcome back to Old School Sports and our Out of the Park Baseball 26 series, Rescue the Rockies. And the 2027 to 2028 offseason is about to get underway. The good news is we've somehow made the playoffs 2 times in 3 years with this Rockies franchise. The really good news is that in their 35th year here in Major League Baseball, the Rockies finally won their first division title with us this season. The bad news is that we got bounced out of the playoffs in the first round, lost 3 out of 4 games against our division rival Los Angeles Dodgers in the divisional series, and the Dodgers went on to win the World Series. Even with the good performance on the field this year, our budget is going to be 23rd in baseball next year. So certainly have a lot of work to do to try to build something sustainable here. Couple of things I wanted to mention before we start moving on with this episode and moving on with the off season. Those of you who have followed us over the years in our previous series will see a couple of familiar names on the waiver wire in Jackson Ferris and Jacob Mizorowski. Unfortunately, neither looks all that interesting in this fictional world, so we won't be putting in a claim on either of them. We have several personnel changes that are going to need to happen this upcoming off season, but we have addressed one of them. Our former pitching coach had retired, and we promoted our AA pitching coach, Josh Conway, to the majors. Excellent at teaching pitching, good with development, good with mechanics, and we expect him to have good relationships with the major league team. Our prized prospect, Jamie Arnold, and our outstanding defensive catcher, Drew Romo, are 2 people he's going to have excellent relationships with, which could be interesting. And with his personality traits, we also think that Conway will work a little bit better in the clubhouse, as the previous pitching coach had some struggles with some of the guys on the team. So certainly don't think that the staff cohesion is perfect. It's at a content level right now. Hopefully on the margins, having Conway in that role will help a little bit by eliminating some of the tension and distractions that we previously had. And given that an owner goal is to improve staff cohesion, hopefully we will make some progress there this upcoming season. And the promotion of Conway from AA leaves Hartford needing both a pitching coach and a hitting coach. And we're also going to need a manager down in Class A Fresno to round out the rest of the coaching staff here in the Colorado organization. And we've got a lot of arbitration eligible players this year. Only 3 at this point that we are definitely going to try to bring back. Right fielder Austin Wells, who's also been our backup catcher the last couple of years. Center fielder Brenton Doyle, who's trying to win his 5th consecutive Gold Glove. Hit really well for us this year, but did miss about half the season due to injuries. And then closer Ryan Walker, who led the NL with 46 saves in his first year in Colorado. I could conceivably see us bringing a couple of these other guys back, but I think there's going to be a fair amount of turnover this year with some of these guys that are making more than they were a year ago and or eligible for something besides the major league minimum for the first time in their careers. Unfortunately, most of our players don't have particular trade value. That said, I still do want to get some contracts off the books. Feel like we've gotten into a bit of a log jam around first base, DH, left field that we'd like to clear a little bit this offseason. And I'd also like to clear a lot of money. As we talked about at the end of the last episode, doesn't seem like there's any particularly transformative potential free agents who are going to be on the market in a few weeks. But I'm going to hold out hope that maybe there will be an international free agent that could be a real impact player for us. And given that a lot of the guys that we'll be moving on from or trying to move on from are underperforming and starting to make some decent money, I think I'd rather take the gamble on having some money to use this offseason on international free agents or second-tier experienced free agents rather than just repeating things with some of the guys who have been with us for multiple seasons. As I noted, though, a lot of these guys that I'd like to move on from don't have a lot of value. The first base DH crew, left field crew, and right field in this case includes Jordan Beck, Miguel Vargas, Vinny Pasquantino, and Hunter Goodman. Have to imagine that at least two of them will be gone next year. Unfortunately, outside of Hunter Goodman, we don't really have anyone that we want to move on from who has any particular trade value. But Goodman, and I have, in the time since the last episode, I've done a couple of shopping trips, one of which involved Goodman, although it was a couple days ago in real time. I'm hoping the list is the same because there is one player that we can get for Hunter Goodman that I was particularly intrigued by, even though it is not really a position of need for us. And if he's still in theory available for us for Mr. Goodman, I think I'm going to make the trade. And he is still available, and that's Marcelo Meyer from the Red Sox organization. We can see across the teams there's a lot of interest in Goodman. And I get it. He's relatively young at 28 years old. On paper, the bat looks decent. He's actually got pretty interesting speed. And he's a guy who can play catcher as well as several other defensive positions. We've typically used him as a DH, but he's a guy who's averaged over 25 home runs and close to 90 ribbies a year for us for these 3 seasons. So well above average offensively a couple years ago, a little below average offensively the last couple of years, but set to make about $8 million next year. And given that our experience with a better defensive catcher, Drew Romo, has been very helpful to our pitching staff, and as I mentioned, even though Austin Wells has been our starting right fielder against right-handed pitching, with the built-in off days he gets against lefties, he's been able to be our primary catcher for the last couple of years. Last year, we only had to use Goodman to catch a single game for us. But with the salary that he's making and with the fact that we've kind of got a logjam in first base DH types, and he's the guy who's got the most trade value out of the first base DH types that we have, I am definitely intrigued by Marcelo Meyer. Now, there's a lot of things not to like about him. He's almost 25 years old and he's already fragile physically. He put up a 87 WRC plus as a rookie with Boston this year, 1.7 WAR. So he looks like he could be a good major leaguer in this world, but not a great one. But he's pretty solid defensively. Would think that if we bring him on board, we'd try to train him up at some other positions and put him into the mix of middle infielders for us. I don't think he would be our shortstop with how well Tovar has played. But with Amador, Carrig, Cerna, Tovar, Bo Bichette, and potentially Meyer, we've got kind of an embarrassment of riches in terms of the infield. Now, to be fair, we don't necessarily have a big thumper at first base among that crew. Probably if we brought on Meyer, we would need to move on from either Bichette or one of Cerna, Carrig, and Amador. there's not much of a market for Bichette, and given that he's still pretty popular, I don't think we can necessarily afford to trade him away. So ultimately, I think that means we're probably going to be trading away a guy like Amador or Carrig. But the hope is that maybe we can include one of those guys with the likes of Miguel Vargas, maybe a Jordan Beck, possibly even a Ryan Feltner, although it looks like he pretty much has negative trade value at this point, given that he's going to be making close to $10 million next year. But my hope is maybe we can bring on a decent pitcher if we have to trade away one of the younger middle infielders. And my hope is that Meyer, if he really reaches his full potential, could be a little bit better than a Cerna, a Carrig, or an Amador. And we're at least getting younger, cheaper, lefty-hitting infielder who we think can probably pretty easily be trained up to play some other positions. So to me, this makes sense. I don't love that he's fragile, and I don't love that best case scenario for him in this world is I don't even know if I want to say good, but the best case scenario is probably an above average bat, but certainly not a great bat. And as a guy who's going to be 25 years old in a little over a month, no guarantee that he reaches that full potential. But if we bring him on board now, we can get him into the development lab. So I think that's the direction we're leaning here. And we can also actually get a little cash and the reliever Brandon Clark, who I don't think has a big future. Fly ball pitcher will probably be giving up some home runs and some walks and cores. But he's a 24-year-old left-handed body with 3 option years left. I'm guessing, given that he's 24 years old, we're probably going to have to protect him from the Rule 5 this year, which I don't even know if we'll do, but gives us a little bit of optionality and definitely strengthens our infield. As I said, Goodman has been really productive these last 3 years. Over 30 doubles a season, 23 to 28 homers a season, 83 to 97 ribbies a season. But when it's all said and done, I don't want to be playing him at catcher. And Meyer, to me, is a really interesting guy to bring into the organization. So we're going to go ahead and complete the deal. Another reason why I think I'm somewhat reticent to trade away Bo Bichette is that we are likely to have the fans a little upset with us by trading away Mr. Goodman. Forgot to mention that earlier. That did factor into my decision making, but I think for the long term it's the right move. But oh wow, that was. I thought we might lose a point or two, but we just went from 56 to 49 in fan interest. So, well, it'll certainly make things more challenging. I think he was only popular, so I certainly was not expecting a 7-point hit, but it is what it is. Definitely not going to be trading away Bo Bichette now. We'll probably be down to 25 fan interest if we move on from him. And mentioned that we were going to try to get Meyer into the development lab, and we have done that. So Jamie Arnold's going to work on secondary pitch improvement. Both Charlie Condon and last year's first-round pick Trent Clausen going to be working on gap power, along with right fielder Ted Miller, another relatively high recent pick. Adail Amador going to be working on his quality of contact. And then the top prospect in our organization, Francisco Santos, will join Kevin Roberts Jr., another relatively high pick, and the recently added Marcelo Meyer in terms of working on their plate discipline. So going with somewhat easier programs to be successful with this trip through the development lab, with the exception of Amador. Hopefully we can have a pretty high success rate. Feel like we've got a make some kind of steps forward with a lot of these players, and hopefully doing somewhat easier programs will improve their value a bit for next season, and then perhaps next off season, the guys who we're successful with now, who are still considered among the top prospects in our system next year, we can maybe work on some of those more difficult contact and power programs to the extent we think they might be useful. And we've got another deal put together. This one, unfortunately, did not end up involving any of the major league players that we were hoping to clear for someone who could help our team. So may just be a situation where we end up non-tendering a lot of guys. But with the fact that we've traded away Goodman, we don't, at this point, behind Romo and Wells, have a anywhere near close to competent major league catcher in our organization. So with Goodman gone as an insurance policy, we needed to bring on someone who can potentially help us. Caleb Lomavita, 24-year-old. He's going to be 25 in just a couple of weeks, and he finished last season in Double-A Harrisburg. So he is certainly not a big-time prospect, but looks like he is a competent major league catcher with a good personality. And when I say competent major league catcher, I mean defensively, because certainly don't think he's got a major league bat after putting up a 43 WRC plus and 47 at-bats in AAA Rochester this year. But if we need a backup catcher because of an injury to Romo or Wells, Lomavita sadly would be the best guy in our organization, and he is also someone with 3 option years left, so we can potentially use him as a insurance policy in AAA for the next few years. We also get a whopping $100,000, and the closer Julio Rodriguez, 27-year-old, who has spent the last 2 years in Double-A. He's never made it above the Double-A level. His profile suggests he could be a usable major league left-handed pitcher, and he's also got 3 option years left, so happy to take him back in return. But we have to give up 3 pieces. One really doesn't matter. Cooper Blauser, former 14th round draft pick. Don't think he's ever going to be anything close to a major league hitter. And mixed personality at this point with a motor mouth, so happy to include him. But we have to give up 2 borderline pitching prospects. The one that I regret giving up more is Luis Rodriguez, 23-year-old with ground ball tendencies, doesn't throw incredibly hard, but looks like he could be a usable back of the rotation major league pitcher. But split last year between high A and Double A, who was pretty respectable at both levels, but he'll be 24 when next season is getting underway, and don't view him as anything more than a back of the rotation guy. So felt like the need to have a third catcher who could at least give us better than competent defense at the major league level if we needed it was important. And then we also need to include Revere Camacho, 20-year-old, spent the last year in rookie ball with us where he was respectable, but don't view him as a big-time prospect. Another guy who's a 5th starter at the major league level if everything goes well. So basically we're giving up a couple of 5th starters for a guy who's probably a 4A catcher and a guy who is probably actually a 4A relief pitcher. But both Lomavita and Rodriguez are probably closer to helping us in the majors than Luis Rodriguez and Revere Camacho are. So we're going to go ahead and complete this trade and at least make a move that gives us a little bit of insurance if we do have some injuries this upcoming season to our catchers. And with the fact that we've moved on from Goodman, added Meyer into the mix, and feel like we absolutely need to keep Bichette now, given the hit that we took to fan interest from trading away Goodman already. Came down to, do we want to keep Vinny Pasquantino or Miguel Vargas? And although Vargas on paper is, I think, a better player, he has not been productive at all for us, while Pasquantino has been and gives us a left-handed bat, which we're a little bit light on. Unfortunately, not really a ton that we can get in return for Vargas. Mentioned that the profile looks interesting, but he's been with us 3 straight years now, and his best season was an 88 WRC plus and slightly below replacement level. Set to make almost $4.5 million next year. He was an all-star in 2025 with the White Sox before we traded for him. And his career has just completely fallen apart since then. We're going to just bring another 4A type of catcher into the organization with Leonardo Bernal. Don't know that he's got a big future with us. Fragile physically, almost 24 years old, but competent defensively with a questionable bat. I know that sounds very similar to Loma Vita, but maybe we get lucky with one of these guys. It's not much of a return for Vargas, but it obviously hasn't worked with him in Colorado, and it's, in my opinion, time to move on. So as I noted, we've made an offer to Pasquantino now. He's going to be the holdover in that first base, DH, left field crew, with the fact that we are moving on now and have moved on from both Goodman and Vargas. Feltner is a tough choice. He's won 11 games for us 3 straight years, had a 2.8, a 3.4, and a 2 WAR for us. His pitching profile looks like he's a borderline major league starter, and he's actually been a respectable to good major league starter for us over these last 3 years. But he's set to make almost $10 million, and I think it kind of tells us a lot when we try to shop him. And unfortunately, we're past the opportunity where we can shop players, but you'll just have to trust me that I did shop him offline a day or two ago, and there's essentially no value for him. We'll continue to try to put something together over the next couple of days, clear a little more salary off of this team, but I don't think there's going to be any particularly exciting returns for us in what we're able to do in the trade market. Well, we've simmed ahead one day finally, and now we can shop guys again and see that unless I'm going to be proven a complete liar, the market for Mr. Feltner is relatively uninspiring. We could bring Carlos Rodon back on a massive contract, Cedric Mullins on a massive contract, Blake Snell on a massive contract, Marcelo Ozuna on a huge contract, Luis Arias, who some of you have talked about, but given how strong we are in the infield right now, don't see that being a move that we're going to make. So just not really anything particularly interesting out there, in my opinion. We can get a lot of older guys making a lot of money for Feltner, which I don't really think is what we need right now. We're trying to clear a little bit of space, potentially, in terms of our finances for next year, in case maybe someone surprising or better than we expected hits free agency, or there's a white whale of an international amateur free agent out there for us to try to, I guess, harpoon, since apparently I'm making some kind of weird Moby Dick reference. And figured if we're just going to not make an offer to Feltner, there was an argument just to not make an offer to him and let him hit free agency and maybe try to sign him back. But we can get Alex Ramirez from the Mets really good speed, really good defensive outfielder. Just don't know if the soon-to-be 25-year-old is really a major league hitter. But he's a guy who's got 3 option years left, so another guy who will be a 4A guy for us, and if we have some injury issues, at least can maybe be a decent 4th or 5th outfielder with some speed for us. So felt like we might as well get something rather than nothing. So we will finally say goodbye to Mr. Feltner and wish him good luck with the Mets. And we've continued shopping guys over the last couple of days. Ultimately, Anthony Molina, Elvis Peguero, and Nick Gordon all have essentially no value on the trade market. We're not going to make offers to them in arbitration. In addition to making the offer to Pasquantino, though, we will bring Jordan Beck back, or try to bring Jordan Beck back next year. We made an offer to him as well. So ultimately, the big departures in this early stages of the offseason are moving on from our starting pitcher, Ryan Feltner, longtime DH, Hunter Goodman, DH/catcher, and then Mr. Vargas, who we had high expectations for that he has not come close to meeting. Those 3 moves definitely going to open up some additional money for us. Hopefully we'll save a little bit while signing some of these arbitration-eligible players. And ultimately the hope is that we also get a little boost to fan interest when we bring some of those back. Definitely was not expecting a 7-point hit when Mr. Goodman left us. So that was an unplanned and unforced error in the grand scheme of things, probably. Maybe not a great decision to bring him on board, but I was pretty tempted by Marcelo Meyer, as we talked about. And we've started to get some of those arbitration-eligible players signed. Vinny Pasquantino back. Brenton Doyle will be back, which the fans are excited about. Ryan Walker back, which the fans are excited about. Austin Wells back. Also trying to get some of those coaches and managers signed as well. So the only arbitration-eligible player left to hear from is Jordan Beck. And we've picked up 3 points in fan interest, so we're still far below where we were when this past season started, even though we won the first division title in Rockies history and made the playoffs. And we've simmed ahead to the start of awards season, ended up getting Mr. Beck signed as well, so our 5 arbitration-eligible players that we offered to are all going to be back with us next year. We were pretty strong up the middle defensively with Romo at catcher, Tovar at shortstop, and Brenton Doyle at center field. Somebody won a gold glove for us. Doyle, as we talked about, only played half the season, but his metrics were still really good. See if we end up with multiple gold glove winners this year or just one. And catcher Drew Romo wins the first gold glove of his career. I think he's been a big asset to our pitching staff. It does seem like very good defensive catchers are having a significant impact in this game, at least compared to the last couple of seasons. You think back to several years ago when it was important to have a really good defensive catcher. It seemed like that had, I don't want to say been nerfed, but had been less important in the last few versions of the game, and it seems like it might be a bit more important this year. So in the season that center fielder Brenton Doyle's streak of 4 consecutive Gold Glove awards comes to an end, maybe Mr. Romo at the age of 26 is able to start a Gold Glove streak of his own. Certainly would help our pitching staff if he's able to do that. And we thought we might have an outside chance at the Mariano Rivera Award winner. After all, as we talked about, Ryan Walker led the league with 46 saves his first year with us. He ends up getting just one third-place vote, despite a really nice season, 2.65 ERA, 2.2 WAR, and as we talked about, NL best 46 saves. but your runaway winner was Jose Alvarado of the Mets. 1.48 earned run average with 80 strikeouts and 66 and two-thirds innings, 9 wins, 6 saves, 26 holds, 2.0 WAR for Alvarado, who wins his first Mariano Rivera Award. Over in the American League, Joan Duran had a big season for the Twins, 40 saves and a 1.76 earned run average. And we've made it to the end of awards season other than the Gold Glove Award for Drew Romo. No awards won by anyone here in Colorado. The big awards, Hunter Brown is your American League unanimous Cy Young Award winner after going 12-8 with a 2.83 earned run average for the Houston Astros. In the National League, Tarek Skubal, great season with the Cardinals, wins his third Cy Young Award, 15-7, league best 2.07 ERA, 0.97 WHIP, 10.1 strikeouts per 9 innings, and 5.2 strikeout to walk ratio. Your most valuable player in the American League, Carson Williams, the Tampa Bay Rays young shortstop, excellent defensive shortstop, won a Gold Glove, also was an All-Star this year, won a Silver Slugger, and topped it all off with the MVP award. 281 average, 31 homers, 86 ribbies, stole 22 bases, a league best 9.4 WAR. And over in the National League, Mets fans will be happy to see a unanimous most valuable player in his third year in the, I don't want to say lesser pinstripes or phony pinstripes, but in the Mets pinstripes. Soto, with a monster season, gets the first MVP award of his career, led the National League in runs, homers, ribbies, walks, on-base percentage, slugging percentage, OPS, WRC+, and batter WAR. And we've made it to the start of free agency. Joey DeMonte, our excellent hitting coach with the Albuquerque Isotopes, is an offer to go to Pittsburgh. So we're going to have to figure out what we want to do with him. Certainly a very talented hitting coach, but we've already got a pretty talented hitting coach in the majors. So going to spend a little time offline figuring out what we want to do there. But the big news is the international free agents have entered the market, and the American League free agents have filed, or not American League, the American free agents have filed. Pablo Lopez, interesting looking pitching prospect, looking for $22 million for the veteran who went 8-11 with a sub-4 ERA and a 3 WAR for the Twins a year ago. The veteran Michael Wacha also available, Zach Gallen, Chris Sale. Lars Nootbaar does make it to the free agent list. Given that he's looking for $20 million and he's on the wrong side of 30, and we did end up keeping the left-handed hitter Pasquantino on the team, probably not a guy that we will pursue. Several more potential pitchers with Ronaldo Lopez, veteran there, could be pretty easy, pretty interesting, but looking for good money. Clay Holmes, Mackenzie Gore, Jeremy Pena, the veteran shortstop, also out there, although again I don't see that being a big need for us. And Jacob deGrom still pitching, and pitching pretty well actually. 13-6 record with a 3.48 ERA for your Texas Rangers last year. So some interesting starting pitchers available, but we are hoping that there will be some big-time international free agent that might be a true difference maker available. Rafael Acevedo certainly looks like an interesting pitcher. definitely looks like someone who could help a major league team, and he's only looking for $1.8 million. We've already got average scouting accuracy on him, but not a difference maker, but still looks like a pretty decent value for the soon-to-be 28-year-old. Michio Nakamura, not as interesting, looking for more money, also almost 34 years old, doesn't throw all that hard. Rest of the pitchers don't look like difference makers. Maybe one of these 4 outfielders will be there. Watch it be the second baseman, Hirokio Nakano. No, it's not him actually, but... And boom goes the dynamite. Left fielder Gus Nieves. Durable, switch hitting 26-year-old. Looks like potentially outstanding home run power and a pretty darn good eye. Good contact hitter. Not a lot of gap power, not a lot of speed, and not that great defensively. But could be a pretty interesting bat to put in the middle of our lineup. Looks like he's really good against right-handed pitching. Kind of more of an average-ish major league bat with a little pop against left-handed pitching. So for a switch hitter, some pretty significant split differentials there. But Pex Nieves certainly may be someone for us to think about. Ramon Guerrero, also an interesting-looking prospect, 24 years old, good speed, decent-looking bat, decent defense. Acevedo and Guerrero I don't think are stars, but for the amount of money they're looking for, certainly interesting to investigate. And right fielder Jose Muskrat Bill Ibarra, another durable outfielder. He's older, almost 33 years old, but looks like a pretty solid major league bat with a interesting looking glove. He's got a nice arm. So I can't say that there's a... Well, Nieves is pretty good, or we think he's pretty good. Obviously, we're low scouting accuracy on him, but would love better defense, would love better speed, and would love better gap power. But when his contact, we think, is above average, the eye is above average, and the home run power is borderline outstanding, still pretty an interesting player to consider. So the good news is that there are some interesting international free agents to consider. The outfielders Nieves and Ibarra right at the top of the list if we want to spend some money. And we do have some money to spend with the players that we traded away and the guys that we didn't make arbitration offers to, and we also just waived and DFA'd a few other guys off of the 40-man roster. Pitchers, a lot of interesting starters available also. Looks like most of them are looking to be more than fairly compensated for what they are, but our old buddy Sandy Alcantara available too, and we do have a spot in the rotation given that we have moved on from Mr. Feltner. So some interesting decisions for us to make, but as I noted, we've got money to spend this offseason. Ultimately, would love to be able to put some of this money that we think we have into scouting and player development, get those back up towards the very lofty levels that they were at a year ago. But it's going to cost us close to $30 million to do that. For the time being, not going to focus on that. We certainly can bring on any one player that we want to in free agency. I think the question is it one of these big-time veteran starters, particularly maybe these popular guys who are pretty old. Maybe they won't be looking for too many years. Sale's looking for 3 years at over $100 million. Mr. DeGrom looking for 3 years at almost $38 million a season. So don't know that we're going to go after the popular kids. Pablo Lopez, though, is reasonably popular. A good, solid major league starter, younger than those guys, healthier. 7 years at $22 million a pop is a long contract for a pitcher who's going to be 32 before the season starts. But he could help us with the fans. And I'm sure there's other options out there for us to investigate. And then batting-wise, it'd be great if we figured out that one of these guys was going to be real popular. Certainly you would think that Pex Nieves could be with that profile that he has. Jose Ibarra, probably not going to go for him. Going to be 33 years old. Very well-balanced looking player. A little bit better defensively, and I love the durability, but I don't know that we need a 30-year-old outfielder. Nieves, in addition to the durability, has got a little more youth going for him. So definitely some interesting decisions for us to consider. It's going to be a busy free agency period. I don't know that there's a perfect option for us out there, but I certainly am intrigued by Mr. Nieves as well as Mr. Guerrero to maybe supplement the roster. And then, as we talked about, there are a lot of interesting starting pitchers out there. And if we want to be thrifty, perhaps thinking about Mr. Acevedo could make sense as well. So big decisions coming up for our Colorado Rockies here in free agency. If you've got any thoughts on what we should do, would love to hear them in the comments, and or more accurately, read them in the comments. And until our next episode, thanks so much for watching, and hope you have a great day.